Oh my god, Emoji movie, oh that sucks, some stupid modern day stuff being made into a movie, then it's so outdated and I hate the new generation and it's just gonna be stupid and I hate dabbing and words like dank and means and... Alright, that was literally the reaction before the movie came out. And it was stupid. Come on, guys, it was stupid. Why did everyone have to shoot down this project right from the get-go and say, oh, it's gonna be stupid, just based on the fact that you hate anything that has to do with the modern generation? You know, like, the Lego movie, that was just another idea that was about as half-baked as the Emoji movie. It's just that one was done better. The pre-hate for this movie was ridiculous. I'm never gonna let that down. The fact that everybody pretty much said and declared that this was the worst movie ever before it was even released is pretty stupid. With that said, the movie's pretty bad. And it'll make you think. Some suckers just tickle me pink. This movie is basically about an emoji named Gene, who's a meh emoji. And right away, I'm just confused. You know, okay, first like 5 minutes of this movie, I was actually thinking, you know, maybe I'll end up liking this because I kind of like how he's just strolling through the street, all the emojis are showing up. There was a funny joke that shows emoticons that are like in wheelchairs and he calls them the elderly, and I was like, hey, that's a pretty funny joke. I don't know, I think that's funny. Maybe this movie will turn out alright. Maybe I'll be in that minority who thinks it wasn't that bad. And then the rest of the movie goes on. I don't understand why his name is Gene, but he's a meh. I don't understand that. And I don't understand why he has parents. And if they're in a phone, don't they only need one meh emoji? It's stuff like this where I'm constantly thinking, we gotta get to the story. The story is that he doesn't express meh correctly. He can actually express other emotions, and that ends up building up later to finding out that his father can do the same thing, and it's actually a glitch in the system, and when they find out it's a glitch, they try to delete him because this is like some communist society with like a dictator overlord who's the smiley emoji, and she's trying to kill off anyone who's a glitch. So then he goes on the run trying to find this hacker who can fix him because some emojis are hackers, I guess. I don't really know. And then he runs into a high five emoji, played by James Corden, and he comes along because he wants to be programmed into the top 20 emojis again. And then they go through a long run through the phone, through apps, and through Just Dance, and through Candy Crush, and through all this crap to finally get into the main settings, get into the cloud to fix it. You know, okay, the people who say like the Cars franchise doesn't make any sense, this movie is gonna give you a run for your money, because at least with Cars, they try, you know, it's our world except with cars, but at least they try to explain everything. At least everything, like even the animals and such, are cars. At least they do things like, you know, changing oil is their way of going to the bathroom. At least there's stuff that is equivalent to everything else. In this world, everything is literally just how humans are, except the only thing that's different is the emojis are the humans. That's the only difference. They still go to the bathroom the same way. Their bathrooms look the same. Their streets look the same. Virus, malware, you know, that kind of bad software on it. So maybe the phone is just, you know, falling apart, you know, inside, and all these glitches are happening, and maybe that's why the emojis can go run around, and that's why at random times the music just plays on the phone out of nowhere. There's just music playing on the phone, which, by the way, when the classmates hear it, they just find absolutely hilarious, because as we all know, back when I was in school, man, bullies always loved when your phone would just go off and would play music. I mean, that's funny, you're an idiot because your phone's playing music. This world makes no sense. And you think about it the whole time, and this is one of those movies where you can't ignore the plot holes. You can't. There's a scene where the malware can't go into the cloud app, and they say he can't come in here because we're protected, but then he gets past it anyway, and there's no explanation. Like this one, you know what? I won't hesitate that this one. Then there's also these characters, and there's some of the most Just boring characters ever. You got the character Meh, played by TJ Miller. TJ Miller's alright, I really do like him, but this character was just nothing. There was nothing to it. There was no personality. Maybe that's the point, because he's a meh. But even him being a meh doesn't matter, because he doesn't want to be a meh. He's just sort of an everyman, but the most boring version of it. James Corden playing High Five, and I mean, I like James Corden also, but once again, his character's pointless. He just tags along with Meh for no reason. And his name's not even Meh, it's Gene. And I don't know why it's called Gene, but yeah. So High Five tags along with Gene to both go get fixed and go find the hacker. And High Five's just kind of annoying, and he's kind of a jerk. At one point, the Red Wagon wants to come with, and he's like, nope, you ain't coming with, and the Red Wagon gets all sad. And they never follow up on it. They just don't follow up on it. Then there's this emoji named Jailbreak who's covering her true identity because she wants to be someone else. And they try to say something about that, but it kind of goes nowhere. And then, like, she also makes this big speech about how men are always taking credit for ideas that women come up with. So, you know, they're trying to create this great woman character there, but it just doesn't work, because you get to the end of the movie and she has this big speech about how she has her own plans and she can't go along with Gene because Gene, like, confesses his love for her even though they had, like, no chemistry, and then she ends up going for him anyway and just saying screw the plan. So alright. Anyway, this is a perfect example of a movie saying, hey, we're gonna have a really positive, really great female character, and just botching it to death. And then you got all these other side characters that, for instance, the poop emoji, which is played by Patrick Stewart, he says all the jokes that are just classic, the classic, you know, like saying stuff like, we're number 2, and then there's also that joke like, he says something about duty, and then someone laughs at him, and he's like, what did I say? I'm the poop emoji. Duty and duty, they're the same. Stupid jokes like that. And I'm thinking in my head, they're just getting those jokes out of the way now, but he's probably going to tag along with the group and then he'll become a little more interesting. But no, Patrick Stewart's in the movie for about 2 minutes. These are some of the worst characters ever, because with no development and nothing interesting, you don't care when they go off on their adventure. The overall look of the movie is fine, I guess. The animation's not bad, but I don't know how to explain it, but it just kind of had an ugly look to it. The movie just does look ugly. I don't know if it's the color schemes, I don't know if it's the fact that it's just so overly saturated and there's no other color palettes or shadows or anything. It's just kind of one color, and that's bright. And there's nothing wrong with a bright movie. I mean, there's plenty of movies that stick to one saturated bright tone the whole movie, but this movie, maybe it's because the backgrounds should be more interesting than they are. When you're in a world that's supposed to be a phone, I don't know, like, I've seen movies like Wreck-It Ralph and Lego Movie at this point where they end up making the background so immersive and so interesting. In this movie, it just kind of does nothing with its, you know, source material. There's not much you could probably do with this idea to begin with, but if you give it to clever enough people, you could have put tons of stuff into those backgrounds. You could have made tons of interesting, like, layout decisions and such, but they just don't. He's deleting everything off the phone, and it's slowly deleting everything, but then he's able to stop it last second. But I'm like, that's not how phones work. There are internet trolls in this movie, and they're just literal trolls. They just look like trolls, they're in the phone, and they just call themselves internet trolls, and they go nowhere with that joke. They do nothing with it. I'm an internet troll, and that's it. That's all it is.
Well, I'm dropping English, even if yellow makes it.
And then the score, I mean, the music score is fine enough. That was probably actually the best part of this movie, even though I thought it was just a little generic, but it's a fun score.
'Cause it's known to give a brother brain damage.
The movie opens with all these kids on phones, and it's like it's almost like they're gonna say something about how kids overly use phones nowadays and don't actually express themselves. But then the climax of the movie is literally this kid sending the meh emoji, who can express itself a ton, and it ends up being a really expressive new emoji that he sends to the girl he likes, and then she's like, oh, I really like a guy who can express himself through the phone. So I don't know, I really feel like if they wanted to make a better statement, I mean, why couldn't it have been because the meh emoji was gonna get deleted, why couldn't they have done something like kick him out of the phone and then just have him in the real world, like the human world, meet up with the human, and then the meh emoji is trying to show the human how to express itself without using a phone, and then the guy who has no expressions, the human being who is non-expressive because of phones, why couldn't he have taught the meh emoji to be more like him and be non-expressive? That would have been a better movie than this. Instead, we just get this travel, this little road trip movie that's not funny at all, that traveled through apps where the settings make no sense. It's basically one big ad, and it's really shameless, and it's not tied in together well at all. And then you have this subplot where his parents are looking for him. I completely forgot about that, but that goes nowhere, and they're really unfunny. This is one of the least funny movies I've ever seen, and I really wish, I was hoping to see this movie and say something different about it, but I can't. It's just bad. It's just a bad movie. It really is. It's honestly one of the worst of 2017. I don't think I mean, people are like, this is not a good movie for kids to see. I can't see a kid seeing this movie and getting really anything bad out of it, but take your kids to something else. Or wait for Captain Underpants to be on DVD. Or, you know, wait for Cars 3 to be on DVD. That was even better. There's plenty of better animated movies out there. Despicable Me 3 might still be out, and that's a lot funnier than this movie. And even Despicable Me 3 is not that good, but it's funny at least. Like, I at least laughed in that movie. This one...
Rolling Stone has given it the shit emoji. I can only assume it's a mess up, you know? They must have had a problem with their, No, this seems like the right score for how they're saying this. So, you know, mixed. Let's call it mixed reviews.